And there we go. See, I don't know we're live until I actually see the picture on YouTube. Even though it says it's live for 10 seconds, I don't know it is because I think there's a little bit delay. Anyway, happy Saturday, July the 12th. Welcome, everybody. How's everyone doing tonight? Do you remember this? Heinz Verified. Episode 7. 7, Chicago, Thursday. Since it was 6.5 this past Thursday. I'll be watching it from my comfy golf cart at the Jazz and Rib Festival. So we'll look forward to that. My voice is scratchy. I don't know why today. It got scratchy again. I wasn't yelling, I don't think. Who knows? Maybe I was yelling. I could be yelling. Yelling is always happening. All right. So all sorts of crazy stuff today in history and everything else. Let's see. Oh, my googly eye guy. I found this googly eye guy today who was pretty funny. So look at this guy. Google eye guy. I was like, wow, look at that. He's two googly eyes on what looks like a beer bottle inside of a homemade koozie with a cap. I think that came from Mary McDonald. She made that out of a sweater. So it's a sweater for your beer. So it's a beer sweater. But there's your googly eye guy for the day. Everyone needs a googly eye guy. Okay, so let's see. So today is Eat Your Jell-O Day. I guess that was found in 1897. Now, do you know what Jell-O is? I did my research. I know what Jell-O is, but I didn't want to dig into it. But yeah, it's one of those things like, okay, definitely not vegan, just so you know. It's not vegan. Which is funny now, okay? Side note, today's Bill Cosby's birthday. He's pudding, not Jell-O, but it's close, isn't it? It's kind of the same stuff. It's just one's with milk and one's not. So Bill Cosby, buckle up, buckaroo, right? Horse hooves. Yeah, I know. It is. It's not great. It's the collagen from the elastic parts of, yeah, all that horse stuff and everything else, Don. You're correct. It is that. So enjoy those Jell-O shots. And you can make Jell-O shots out of really harsh liquor. Funny story about Jell-O shots. Oy. Many, many years ago, we would do a thing called, when I was in college, we would go visit other universities. I was in a fraternity. I know. It wasn't your normal frat boy fraternity. It was just, we were more like this collective group of nerdy dudes that had a lot to do with ski club and places to live. Anyway, we went to Purdue University and visited a thing called Ditch. Everyone in the back of the van, go for the weekend, go usually see a football game or whatever. Someone attempted to make Jell-O shots. Now, you have to boil, obviously, the liquid to get it hot enough to melt the Jell-O. And you had to use Knox blocks for anything above, like Jell-O or alcohol. You use more gelatin. So Knox blocks and that stuff will make, like a brick of Jell-O. Anyway, some genius thought it upon themselves to use 151 proof alcohol, or 190, something ridiculous like grain alcohol. And they thought it would be a great idea that they had to boil it to make it hot. These are college dudes, this isn't great. And so, yeah, they put it on a saucepan on the stove and heated it. Okay, you do know where this is going, right? You've been and seen a restaurant where they heat the alcohol and then light it on fire to pour it over your flambe of, Bananas Foster or whatever else. Well, that's exactly what happened. And in their panic and freak out, grabbed the pan and did like this with it. Well, you can imagine what that did. It then sent this blue flame of pure alcohol, like rubbing alcohol, everywhere. It lit the entire kitchen of this house on fire. I mean, everywhere. It did not burn the house down, but there was a lot of people yelling and screaming, and it was very stressful at that moment. I did come home with a souvenir from that adventure. I still have it to this day. I've got a scar right above my eyelid or eyebrow. I think it's grown over, but it's there. Trust me, 3 stitches. Yes, that was a card game that I did not win. Let's put it that way. The table won. I did not. But yes, I came home with a souvenir of 3 stitches. So, Eat Your Jell-O Day, made in 1897 out of collagen and Bill Cosby's birthday. There's your connection with that. It's also National Paper Bag Day. So I guess the paper bag was originally from 1852, but there was a patent today, July 12th, 1859. So that's why it's today's bag day. And there was like, oh, they use it for paper bags. I'm like, really? Like, people need uses? Wash your windows. I was like, well, I guess if there's no newspaper, you can do that because it's streak free. But it's like, store your onions and garlic. Poke holes in it. It keeps it fresh for months. I'm like, really? Can't you just keep them in a bowl? You got to keep them in that. Make your vegetables ripen faster. Store your things. I'm like, it's a bag. Is this like obvious? Is this like an ad for AI? And we don't know what we're doing. We're completely incompetent. That's what bags are for. It carries things. I felt like it was a little demeaning descriptions, to say the least. National Pecan Pie Day. Don't care, not a pecan pie fan. Sorry if you are. And National Different Color Eye Day. We talked about that last night. David Bowie. Different Color Eye Day because Bowie yesterday, Space Oddity, blah, 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 blah. So that's how I tied it in, so I won't go back into the whole David Bowie thing. Or show you pictures of David Bowie, because I had a picture with David Bowie. And he was really nice. He was short, but he was nice. And it's National Simplicity Day. Now, I guess that coincides with Henry David Thoreau's birthday, which is today, from 1817. And he talked about simplicity. And I fell down the simplicity rabbit hole about everybody in simplicity. The whole simplify your life kind of thing, how we should simplify our lives. Does it bring you joy? Does all this crap that surrounds me? Oops. I forgot that's not the right camera anymore. I changed it. It's the Death Star. So there you go. Not simple at all. Not simple. Sorry. And that won't be there much longer. Just so you know, this has to go. I keep running into it. I'm so close to it. I can touch it. It's right here. Yeah, it's nice there temporarily, but there's no way I can keep it here. I've smashed my head into it a few times, like turning, leaning down, standing up. It's bad. There was pieces of it. I thought it was going to be like an accident without filming it, no less. Because if I'm going to destroy the Death Star, at least I want it on film. I won't get it on film or destroy it either. But anyway, simplicity. Does it bring you joy? Kind of thing. So it just talks about less stuff. And it just seems like we just keep adding more stuff. I have so much stuff, I don't know what to do with this stuff. I have, a basement full of stuff, a house full of stuff, a garage full of stuff, a 10,000 square foot building full of stuff, 4 storage units full of stuff. It's just stuff. There's so much stuff. And it's just stuff. Does it bring me joy? Not all of it. Definitely some of it brings me not joy. Anyway, that's what Simplicity Day today is. Tomorrow is Barber Shop Music Day. Now, to me, that would be metal, because every time I go to the barber, that's what they're always playing. They're playing metal music in there. They're a bunch of tattooed dudes that are, always playing heavy metal or watching some road racing or some crazy movie. But it's Barbershop Quartet, I think, is what they're talking about. Acapello is more the actual phrasing of it. So I think that's up to you. If you're depending on who your barber is, they may have a different idea of what their music selections would be. Now, this is okay. It's Beans and Franks Day. Now, I would think it'd be Franks and Beans, but apparently it's Beans and Franks Day. So I don't want to get people in an uproar. It was the first canned convenience food from the 1890s was beans. So it sort of became ubiquitous with that. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with National Hot Dog Day, which is coming. Okay, that's next Wednesday, because I had to look it up. I'm like, all right, there's got to be, it's just sort of like Waffle Day. There's Waffle Day, Waffle Iron Day, Chicken and Waffle Day. There's these subsects to everything, apparently. And National Hot Dog Day is next Wednesday. Of course it is. But this day, tomorrow, is Beans and Franks Day, which, again, is, hot dogs in your beans. It's simplicity. Okay, that's what it is. It's also Delaware Day tomorrow because that celebrates Delaware is the first state to join the Union. So there you go. That's the today and tomorrow of things. I have no real ties with any of those things. Now, funny things, odd things. Yeah, as I cough. 1957, the Surgeon General linked smoking to cancer. In 1957, and still, we haven't figured that out. Just saying. Just saying. I'm sure it's, it doesn't cause cancer. Okay? I can deny that completely. It doesn't cause cancer. 1962, Rolling Stones played their first club, the Marquee Club, first show in London. Now, I don't know if that's their first show in London at the Marquee Club or it's their first show altogether. I believe it's their first show altogether. So 1962, first show of the Rolling Stones at the Marquee Club in London. I think that's how I have to phrase that. And then, well, you got to go backwards sometimes. Also found this one funny. Hey, happy Mormon Polygamy Day, because today in 1843, Joseph Smith said, it's okay. There you go. Happy Mormons. Enjoy your Utah-ness. I did visit Utah this summer, and my friend lives, and he sort of explained how the city was segregated. And this was sort of the Mormon part, and this is you non-Mormons can live over here in the crappy part of the city, because we don't really care. If you're not a Mormon, we don't really want you to be here anyway, kind of thing. So interesting. And again, his wife came from Mormon parents, which I found to be interesting. They don't all say Mormons. I think it's sort of like Rumspringen. If you start as Amish, you don't always end as Amish. You hit that Rumspringen thing and you just keep on going. You take the horse and buggy out for a ride and you never stop. You hit that 7-Eleven on Slurpee Day, which was yesterday, and just keep on rolling, man. That's it. I'm done Amishing. I'm going to keep right on rolling. Okay. Now, these are the fun things, okay? So in 1916, today was the last day of 4 people killed by sharks in Matawan, New Jersey. I remember hearing about this. This was sort of one of those things, like it was a bull shark that got into the river, because bull sharks can live in brackish water. So, yeah, not great. Not great. So it was the summer of scariness. 1933, Congress enacts minimum wage at 33 cents an hour. I kind of did the math and I was like, okay, well, it doesn't work out so great. If it was 33 cents an hour in 1933, it definitely does not account for inflation to be up to today's standards. Just saying. It's not. But yes, that's when it was established. Minimum wage was 33 cents in 1933. Who knew? And you had to start somewhere, I guess, right? 1966, Sandusky, Ohio, 10.5 inches of rain fell. So yeah, summer, lots of rain. We had insane rain here today. Like tons and tons of rain. I was worried the basement was going to be flooded. So I actually, in the pouring rain, put on a raincoat. My John Deere raincoat. I tried to black it out. I needed something. I went to Walmart. That's what they had. It was cheap. It works great because it's pretty much wearing a black, rubber bag on your head and body, except it's actually cut out to fit you. But it has a John Deere logo on it. And I did take my Sharpie. I was like, no, it does not stay on. So I have to find some way to take it off, because I can't cut it off because it'll make a hole in it, because they put it so it's like tied and sewed and glued, and they just didn't want it coming off, because apparently people, would take it off, or they expect this thing to be living through the apocalypse. I don't know what, but it wasn't anything good. Okay, now this one I found interesting, and I had to fall down this rabbit hole twice. So in 1979, it was the Disco Demolition Day at Comiskey Park. So apparently what happened was the White Sox had a promotion where it was bring and destroy disco. Now, as you can imagine, apparently it got out of hand, like quickly. And the White Sox had to wind up forfeiting the second game that they were playing that day. You can read about it. It's kind of crazy. It went up to now. I was like, wait a second, don't I remember something like this happening? Like I wasn't there, but I, have heard enough legend. Yeah, I was like, it was that, okay? Because in June 4th of 1974, Cleveland did this, but worse. They did this with Dime a Beer Night. I'm sure if you've ever read any lore of that one, yeah, 10-cent beer night in Cleveland in 1974. And it was Stroh's. And it was like 3-2 beer, but that didn't matter. I guess it got to the point at some point they couldn't serve beer fast enough. So the genius who probably came up with the whole idea of, hey, let's do 10-cent beer nights, let people go and downstairs to the infield fence and directly just pouring it off the trucks. So, and there was no limit. That was the best part. There was no limit. It was 6 beers per person, but you could come as many times as you want. So you could walk up, get 6 beers, give them to your buddy, get 6 more, give them to your, I'm like, yeah, that was definitely inside thinking right there, Cleveland. As you could imagine, read about that one too. It was an absolute, just unmitigated disaster. They wound up forfeiting the game because it was tied 5-5. And, as the riot broke out at the end of the game, they pretty much had to forfeit the game. Cleveland did. And so that's legend. That's legend. So you think they would have thought about doing a promotion like, hey, let's destroy stuff at a baseball game. And it was only a couple years later, and I'm sure it was fresh in somebody's mind that said, it seems like a good idea. Again, we're good at regulating things after the fact, not prior to. No one's going to say no to this. Someone's just going to not stop me. I'm just going to go with this. Okay, it sounds good. We're just going to have that happen. I do like reading some of these stories because I've heard about them, but then to actually read the details of them sometimes, it's just shockingly stupid. Like, holy crap. Did you really think selling 10-cent beers at a baseball game was going to be a good idea? I mean, even I would think that's a bad idea. Well, maybe that's a little too low of a threshold. Make it 25 cents? I mean, something? 10-cent beer, sure. Yeah, that sounds smart. I mean, 10-cent wings, okay. You're going to have a lot of chickens killed, but 10-cent beers, even at 3-2, no, that's going to go badly. Like, I don't understand how someone thought that was going to work well. And again, demolishing disco, same thing. How do you think this is going to go? Bring stuff to break. Okay, that's we're gonna let people break stuff. That sounds like a really good idea. No one's gonna do anything dumb. Yeah, bring it only down like Cleveland. Next thing you'll know, the river will catch on fire. Exactly, right? Or they'll release the balloons. Cleveland's also the one that had that giant balloon release. You can Google that one too. That I thought was fake at first, but it was like, oh no, they actually did that. I was like, what the crap, Cleveland? They're just infamous for bad ideas, apparently. Other than that, it's just, I don't know. Cleveland just got a bad rap for not great ideas. Yes, 10-cent beer night. I call it. I call shenanigans. Oh, man. Yes. 92, Axl Rose was arrested for a riot in St. Louis. That concert happened on July 2nd, so apparently they arrested him later. And in 1996, Michael Jordan signed a 1-year deal with the Chicago Bulls for $30.1 million. 1 year, $30 million. God bless Michael Jordan. Someone's got to make those big bucks, but that's a ridiculous amount of money. I mean, woo! Let's see, birthdays today. We had Bill Cosby, the Jell-O guy, which is pudding, but it's just brown pudding, I guess, or brown Jell-O, right? Isn't it? It's still like a gelatinous. I'm sure they use the same ingredients. So Jell-O, not vegan. And I'm betting that even if you don't use milk, which I think you have to for pudding, probably not vegan either. Just saying. Because we did discuss the whole vegan thing when it came to red dye. If they change red dye, remember? Someone brought that up, and I think it was a Jill Lewis. I think that's true. There's gonna be things that maybe are vegan now, but if we do get rid of red dye and start using those little insects that come on cactus plants, they won't be vegan because you are eating technically something that was alive at one point. Just saying. Just saying. Christy McVeigh, Fleetwood Mac, her birthday is today. She's dead, but it still was her birthday. She died in 22. Richard Simmons, the exercise guru, Richard Simmons, back for sweating the oldies and watching those infomercials. It's his birthday today. I don't know if he's alive or dead. I didn't check. Sorry. Cheryl Ladd, her birthday today. Charlie's Angels, Cheryl Ladd. Topher Grace, that 70s show dude, his birthday today. And then Robin Wilson of the Gym Blossoms. Robin's birthday today. We met Robin before. He's very nice. Cool cat. The only person I found of any note that died today was Sherwood Schwartz. And that was the guy that invented the Brady Bunch and Gilligan's Island. We thought about Gilligan's Island the other day because of Thurston Howell III, Mr. Magoo. He recently not he recently. His birthday was recently, or was it his death day? I don't remember. Don't really care. Anyway, while I was digging through pictures, this was a picture that I think was from the summer. Hey, look, it's me flipping off the camera. What a shocker. What a concept. Yeah, me giving the middle finger. And I don't know why. I forget. There was a promotion. This was at the Schottenstein Center. There was some concert that we were supposed to wear tuxedos to. So, yeah, I did that. I wore a tuxedo to a concert at the Schott. I forget what it was. It was Cosby Rep Jello brand pudding, soda applies. Fair enough. I don't know what show that was that I wore that tuxedo to. But it reminded me of some episodes we had when we went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to go do live broadcasts and see shows up there. And yes, there was some finger flipping off up there as well at the Rock Hall. And there's pictures of that somewhere, but I don't remember where. But we did autograph the wall that when all the rock stars would come in, they signed the walls like we did at the radio station on the ceiling and everything. And I did sign the wall. So I did sign the wall next to I forget who it was. Maybe Steven Tyler of Aerosmith or somebody. I'm like, yeah, I'm so signing this wall. No one's paying attention. I have a Sharpie in my pocket as always. I'm like, Randy, Randsanity. So yeah, that's up there somewhere at the Rock Hall. I left my mark somewhere. We did ask the Rock Hall if they wanted CD 101 stuff, like radio station stuff for local things at some point. And they were kind of like, nah, not really. Nah. I was like, See, I'm good at that. I know how to do that. I know where that comes from, and I know where it sends you to. Jello's good, but in the 60s and 70s they put vegetables in it. Well, they still do. Come on, I've seen Jello with things in it, Jello molds with like grapes and other such things in it. I remember Jello as a kid. It wasn't fantastic. You kind of were like, whatever, man, Jello. It was kind of this jiggly kind of. Yeah, I don't know. Jello. Nothing great. It was Jello. I just Jello. I guess I have no feelings toward it either way. It's just Jello. It's not good or bad. If someone put Jello in front of me, I'd be like, sure, I'll eat Jello. But it's not gonna be like, oh my God, I need to have Jello. No. Ice cream? Yes, please, ice cream. Whipped cream on your ice cream? Yes, absolutely. I want whipped cream on my ice cream. Whipped cream on Jello? Sure. Cool Whip. You gotta have Cool Whip on the Jello. That's how that works, right? You Cool Whip on your Jello. Flambe? I don't know. Flambe Jello? You could. But we had that. I saw it in action. It's not great. Trust me, that was not a good thing. There was so much fire. And it was blue. You couldn't tell everything was on fire. It was literally, the floor, the entire room of the floor was just ablaze in this, like, really wispy blue flames. It's kind of like this, pointing to yourself like, I'm on fire. I'm on fire. The floor was screaming that as we're all panicking like, ah. And obviously running out of the kitchen as it put itself out because it, burns very quickly. So that was good. And it did not ignite the entire house on fire, which would have been bad, which would have been really, really bad. Because we did create other disasters at other ditches throughout the years. Tennessee, we tore the carpet up because we were cold and had nowhere to sleep. So we tore the carpet off the floor, the wall-to-wall carpet, and climbed under it to stay warm. You do stupid stuff, we that's what happens. You're not always using the best of intentions, but hey, it elicits great memories. We think about all the fun times we had and the not so fun times. We had a plaque in the house that was above the wall. Everyone had, some sort of nicknames. It was kind of, I don't know if it was after like Animal House type adventures or whatever, but you had to run the stairs. You ran the stairs. You started like in one part of the house and you ran across the room, the thing, and up the stairs, up the back stairs, across the third floor, down the stairs, down the stairs, down the stairs, and then like everyone would be sitting there waiting for you, like jumped in everyone's arms. Well, you're supposed to kind of like dive off the balcony into it, and this guy Richard Canary, his nickname after that became Crash. He did not do this. He kind of jumped like this, and the wall is there, and there's a landing and wood, and yeah. After he hit that, he landed in our arms, and we proceeded to rush him to the emergency room, where he wound up having like this gash that big with stitches. That was the last time that happened. It was the end of that tradition. So yes. Oh yes, definitely reminds us that the past is real. There is no question. And there was a little plaque we made too, the crash site, that was dated. But yeah, there's no doubt that was real. That was very real. But yes, that's the dumb shit you do. Yeah. Never to do that again. No, not so much. Oddly enough, when a group of us went parachuting for the first time, I gone a few times. But the first time we went, Richard went. And if you ever gone parachuting, you go for like a 6-hour class the first time. And they give you instructions up the wazoo, like do this, do this, do this. They want to, basically get this into your head. Like if something goes wrong, you have to react. You're kind of your own advocate at that point. You're X amount of thousands of feet above the ground, and you need to be your own advocate, or you're going to hit the ground really hard. It's not the fall that's going to kill you. It's that sudden stop. Anyway, Richard, I'm changing this now because I know this is going to click off. So I'm fixing it. So I'm not going to have that happen tonight. Okay. Anyway, so Richard was one of the people that went with us, and we're do our things. We get up in the airplane. It's like, okay, jump, kind of, you go out the door and there you go. And your parachute starts to deploy. And Richards did not deploy. There's a thing called bag closure, where the parachute comes out off your back, but it stays in the bag. It doesn't open up, and it's just a bunch of flappy strings and stuff. So, headed that way in a very, very non-linear path, flailing and screaming because you're no longer, arch your back and look, oh no, you're now going to die. And on his way down, you see the chute go away, and then you see the secondary chute open, low, and then, kind of lands a little precariously, quickly. You hear like ambulances and sirens and things on its way, but no, he totally survived and made it, and clearly listened to the instructions and did not die. But yeah, that was, I remember that very vividly, because that was one of those things like, holy crap, like that really just happened to Crash. Like that really is your nickname. Either we manifested that or you are that guy. So yeah, let's not go on any more first adventures with you that could endanger your life because I don't know what that's going to do at some point. Funny story then, because, right, like I said, I've been parachuting more than once. We went with buddies, um, my buddy, Mogul Mike. The second time we went up there to the same place. And of course, they're like, oh, yeah, well, you already did your class. Like, okay, hey, let's go. We're taking off right now. Literally, you get there. And from the time we pulled into the parking lot, like 18 minutes later, okay, jump. I remember we were both like there's no refresher course. Like, get out. You're over the jump site. Just like, oh, okay. Just kind of heading toward the door now. Yeah, that was because this wasn't like tandem. This wasn't with somebody. Okay, this was a static line. So you go in a long line that lets you free fall by yourself and then go down by yourself. So there isn't some dude that you're attached to that's kind of like, I'm the expert. I know what I'm doing. You just hold on for the ride there, buddy. No, this is, you climb out onto the strut, got to hold on and then let go or, like release and heading that way, as you watch the plane, because it's doing 90 miles an hour and you're falling at terminal velocity. So you're kind of looking up at the plane and it's like, right here. And then it's like gone because, again, it's 90 miles an hour, two different directions at once. So yeah, it's a little scary. So yes, the scariest first time was not scary because you're trained, you're there all day. That second time, was the one. Yeah, that's where it becomes a little frightening to say the least. See, now I'm hearing fireworks. I didn't hear them the other night. Tonight I hear the fireworks, which makes more sense because why would you blow off the fireworks on the 4th of July? Let's do it at 11:30 on the 12th of July. That makes much more sense to me. So I'm wondering if the student, whoever neighbor is back, they'll be doing their 3 a.m. fireworks, mortar shell displays for me. That will surely wake me up in the middle of the night, as always. But yes, parachuting was one of those things that was just a little bit, little surreal. A little surreal. I have pictures that I will share at some point of hot air ballooning. Now, I've talked about this before. We used to have an envelope, as they called it, at the radio station. It wasn't ours. We rented it. We had a contract with Dick Sigler was our pilot. He flew for Remax. Dick was a good cat. But we had a blank envelope, and we had giant banners that they would Velcro, of all things, onto the balloon and fly it. And it was the 101. And we would, fly over the Horseshoe and over concerts, over like Buckeye Lake, over concerts at Polaris when Polaris existed. Yeah, it was super cool. Flying in a hot air balloon is kind of cool. But again, it's kind of scary because there's literally nothing holding you up. A couple of years ago, just a couple of years ago, my friend Scott, who used to be the president of the Heartland Bank, said, "Hey, what are you doing? Let's go up with a hot air balloon. I've got an extra seat." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I dressed as Santa Claus because I think it was near winter. Because you don't want to fly in the middle of the summer. You need to fly when it's cooler. So that's why they fly in the, think about it, hot air balloon. So flying in the very hot summer sun day is not the best idea because if the warm air outside is warmer than the inside, you don't get that whole lift thing that you want, which is bad. You need the lift. So they do it early in the morning or they do it early, later in the evening when the sun's down and it's cooled off a little bit so that you can have lift. So this was a cold day. This was definitely, it was close to Christmas. So it may have been in November or even December. I don't remember exactly when. I'm sure my camera will tell me the date it was. But yeah, it was one of those things again where it's just like, yeah, I forgot how fearful I am of heights when you're inside a basket, which is, smaller than this, sort of like the encompassed area of where my spaces from here to here and like here to here. And there's three guys in there and, okay, we're going up and, it's about this high and you're in literally a wicker basket with, some wires that are attached to this bracket that holds this big exploding flame that this guy's filling up this giant thing with flames and hot air. And now you're lifting and flying. And yeah, so it's, again, one of those things that until you do it, if you've never done it, landing isn't usually very soft, to say the least, because it's, you're coming down both this way and this way. So you're vertically and horizontally landing it simultaneously. So if it's a good pilot and there's no breeze, you can land fairly square and maybe tip over. Or if not, and there's enough wind going, you land and you kind of slide and drag along the ground and bounce and hop, and he kind of tries to flap it down and such. But yeah, I have some video. I'll have to edit it because it's a lot of it. But yeah, we flew over people's houses. I mean, like the trees above their houses. Like they came outside because we're going over their roof line up in Dublin. And I mean by, I don't know, a couple feet, if that. Hey, there's a hot air balloon landing in the street in front of our house. So, people come out because, again, it's a giant balloon landing. Anyway, that was just an aside note as part of the parachuting, and a side note of crash, and a side note of everything else, because it all just kind of, it's mental diarrhea. It's just the catharsis of me just spewing out all the adventures and the things that are just sort of stuck in my brain. I think this is 5 or 6 square feet. Right. Hot air balloon, that's around 5 to 6 square feet. Right. That's not big. That's tiny. Think about that. That's not big. 2 times 3 is what? 6? I think it's bigger than that. It's a little bit bigger than, that. But no, it's tiny. It's small. It's, it's not a big thing at all. So yes, Todd is correct in that. Hot air balloons, with crash. It doesn't sound like a good plan. No. Did not go with crash. I've never hot air balloon with crash. Parachuted, not hot air balloon. No. Did not do that. I did tell you the story that I went hot air ballooning. I still have the scar. You can see it's a really good one too. It looks like the actual Frankenstein scar. It's got the little lines and everything. At a tailgate party, getting ready to fly over the Ohio State football game. I believe this was pre 9/11. It might have been, because again, I don't think they let anything fly over after that. They were too worried about things crashing into people. Again, shocking. Let's think about things afterwards. Anyway, yes, got my finger got cut really badly at the tailgate we were doing prior to the game with a broken bottle. So I went out in the emergency room. I told the emergency room doctor, I'm like, hey. I was like, can we get the thing stitched up fast? I said, because I'm supposed to be in a hot air balloon here in about 45 minutes. And I said, I know I have about 24 hours to do this. So if this is going to take long, I'm just going to cover my finger up, put some duct tape on it, and head on out, and I'll be back here in about 4 hours. And no, he's like, oh, let me see. Open up, blood's like spraying everywhere. And he was like, we'll get that knocked right out for you. No Novocaine, just let's stitch it up. I was like, okay. So yeah, stitched it up and off I went, hot air ballooning with a freshly bandaged hand. The Castros. Hi Castros, how are you? Nice to see you. If people don't realize that, if you didn't know, the little thing here, first aid in Jersey, I was an ambulance guy. So I'm well aware of how stitches and things work, and I can give them. So I actually have stitched myself, and I've used crazy glue as well. But yes, I drove an ambulance, so I actually was a medic. I did that for 2 years in New Jersey. So I'm actually a first responder. And I did save people. I have a drowning save, and I've got a heart attack save. I also delivered a baby. Who knew? That one was crazy. That was a crazy story. I'll have to share that at a different time. I don't want to get into my ambulance stories because those are just weird and kind of dark and just bizarre. It definitely takes a different type of person to drive an ambulance. If you know anybody that drives an ambulance, you have to think a little bit about it, because we are anyone that shows up there, you're there at someone's typically the worst moment of their life at that exact moment. It's usually not a great moment for anyone when you get there. It's usually a bad day. Someone's having a bad day, and you show up for someone else's bad day. And every time you show up, it's someone else's bad day. And it can become your bad day too, but typically it's not your bad day. But you have to live with it. You have to live with it. And sometimes I could see where some people could get PTSD from that. I don't think I ever did. I remember some of the stuff, and some of the stuff was definitely effed up. There's no question about it. There's things that definitely, kind of made you go, oh man, wow, woof, yeesh, scary, sad, just, oh man, I feel bad, kind of things. But yeah, I don't think it affected me in a way that, I dramatically been altered. Right, dropping frozen turkeys in Cincinnati again. Sounds like a plan. Let's do something like that. WKRP. But yes, ambulance driver guy. I will not recant stories tonight, but I will. So as Don said, this is sort of a video diary that I can take my memoirs from. Since I don't remember a lot of this stuff, if I'm talking about it, then it kind of like spills out because oh wait, because this connects to this, or I remember this to this, because there was just too much crap over the years. Maybe hashtag drinking may be involved. It happens. Dumb things happen. That's just the way it goes. We do dumb things. We're dumb animals. At least I was. I'm not going to completely exonerate myself for my own misfortune. I can't blame everybody for everything in my life, or anybody for that matter of fact. We have to take responsibility for our own stupidity. Check, please. So yes, I definitely have to take responsibility for that. Speaking of stupidity, not that one. Well, that's stupid. Fair enough, but that's not the stupidity I was talking about. Oh wait. Oh, okay. I knew I had another picture. Oh wait, this is. I'll end on this one. Okay, so this is crazy. Okay, that. Okay, that was my connection to Bat Day. I knew I had something in there, and I just forgot about it. That is my old car. I don't have this. I sold this car. I don't have a car anymore. But that's my Tahoe. This was like 4 days after I got this car. And I was driving in my car when this happened, sitting in my front seat. Okay. And this was probably one of the, I don't want to say it was scary, but it was an adrenaline like thing. That's from a baseball bat. Okay. That is, you can clearly see that's a baseball bat that did that. I was in the car when that happened. I was driving and I was on the phone at the time with my attorney. I don't remember what I was talking about, but at the time I was talking with my attorney about something. And I was driving on Livingston Avenue, coming back from the radio station. And right by where Katzinger's is, that intersection's there. And it curves and kind of goes toward the downtown. You sort of, if you're in the left lane, you have to go toward the downtown. And I don't remember cutting anybody off in any way, shape, or form. I didn't flip anybody off or anything. And I don't remember doing any kind of ridiculous driving. But was driving, and a van, like a Dodge Odyssey or something, like slams on its brakes as I'm driving, and I have to step on the brakes to stop so I don't crash into the car. And before I even realize this guy's already out of the car, doesn't say a word, walks up and just smashes the windshield with a baseball bat. And I'm just I'm on the phone still, complete, okay, I stopped and I hit this guy, but as I'm kind of look, he's already out of the car, like bolted out of the car with a baseball bat in his hand, smashes the windshield, and then you can see smash the mirror right off the side of the car, which then became a habit for that car. I think I lost the mirror like four other times throughout the years. And then just gets in his car and drives away. And I'm like, so yeah, I clearly got into the car. I called 911. I was not having very good time seeing. Clearly, I could not see out of the window very well. So I'm on the phone with the dispatcher. I'm saying, here's the guy's license plate, this, blah, 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 blah. He like turns, and he's definitely trying to elude me now. He's not just like pulling over and stopping, it's like, clearly he's trying to get away from me. And zooming through traffic, and I'm not really doing a very good job of seeing where I'm going. The glass is like all over me and everything else. And so I finally pull over, because I can't catch this guy. He's now gone through traffic, and I talk to the cops. I give him a license plate, blah, 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 so forth and so on. I get a call a couple of days later from a detective, and I'll never forget this. No thanks, I'll have a glass of water. It's true, Todd. But he calls a couple of days later, and he was like, hey, so about that windshield incident, because when it first happened, the cops, when I went up talking to the cops, and they were just like, all right, what'd you do? I'm like, I didn't do squat. I said, I have a witness on the phone. I'm literally talking to an attorney who can, I can attest to the fact that I was, wasn't like yelling like, hey, this guy cut me off, or I cut this guy, and like, so they're like, all right, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I talked to this detective, and he's like, so, and it was just like, so, about that thing the other day. I'm like, yeah, what about it? It's like, yeah, we found who that is. I'm like, okay, cool. So what do we do? He goes, well, I'm gonna see how you want to proceed. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, let's put it this way. He goes, he's not a good guy. I'm like, what? Well, I clearly understand. He goes, no, I don't think you completely understand. He's not a good guy. I don't know how you want to put this. I don't know if you really want to pursue this. Just kind of take that as a life experience and move on with your life. And I don't think you want to have this guy know who you are, if that makes any sense. And I'm like, okay, he goes, yeah, let's just leave it at that. Because I don't think you want to get involved any further, and let's just call this, no harm, no foul, if that makes sense. He was just very aloof about this, and I was like, okay. I'm like, okay, I guess, sure. I had a buddy who worked on the force at the time, so I wound up calling him and I asked him and said, so this detective was like, told me about this thing. He goes, okay, we'll look into it. He calls me, he goes, let it go. I'm like, what? He goes, let it go. He goes, that guy he's been for attempted murder, and he's a drug guy, and this. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. He goes, yeah, you don't want him to know who you are. Just move on. I'm like, okay, moved on. So yeah, that was the end of that. But that was my only road rage incident that I'd ever been involved with, and I was the recipient of said road rage, and that was my sort of the baseball bat connection there. But no, I definitely took that very seriously after he told me, like, yeah, no, just let that one go. You definitely don't want to be getting around near that guy. So, note to self, people are nuts. People be crazy. And because, if you look, that was some serious velocity. That was not just like bang. That was like, full Ty Cobb swinging it right there. Babe Ruth heading for the fences. So, yeah, don't piss off the wrong person, apparently. I've taken that to heart, and I'm very careful. Not really, but my driving. I try not to get into situations of that nature. I have not, and will again try not to. But yeah, just be careful out there. Be aware. People be cray. There's no doubt about it. And it only gets worse in the summer times as people are hot and cranky. So just be aware of the hot and cranky, because it is definitely going to be that this week. And I'm looking forward to my Jazz and Ribfest experience, because last year there was something, not this, but similar. There was a fight which started with girls That's the ones you have to watch out for, friends. Just so you know, mace, girls, and then lots of cops, and just all out melee. As I stood, you know, behind my beer booth, 10 feet away, going, I think I've just been maced. So we'll see. We'll see what goes on with that this year. Can't promise it won't happen again. I will have my GoPro though. I will take the GoPro and I'll have it at the ready for all the incidents, if there's any. Knock on wood that there's not. Anyway, that's all the time I have to take up of you for this evening. Thank you so much for spending time with me and letting me just recant the crazy crap that's gone on in my existence. I'm sure that I'll recant more crazy crap tomorrow night. Being tomorrow is Beans and Frank's Day, not Hot Dog Day, Delaware Day. I might have a Delaware story. And then Barbershop Music Day. I don't know. We'll have to tie it something. Well, because, see, my barber, and I've told you this before, my barber is my ex-head bartender, who is the grandson of the guy who made the song, Take This Job and Shove It. So there you go. There's that connection. You know, Outlaw Country, the original Outlaw Country, Johnny Paycheck. So that's how that goes. Metal. And he's actually in a death metal band. Makeup and all. You know, the black and white makeup and death metal. Which is kind of fun. You know, you can experience it. Anyway, I digress, as I always do, because that's the whole theme of this. It's just the random insanity that is Randsanity, because I don't have any real focus on something other than I try to create some sort of a format so that it can give me other things to talk about, so it's not just my complete and utter lack of direction that's going out there. Again, don't forget this. Nope, not that. What am I doing? What did I do? Nope, wrong one. This. Not that. There, that one. Don't forget that. Next Thursday, episode 7. This will be actual episode 7, not episode 6 3/4. I did talk to the producers. I called them like, hey, it would have been nice to tell me that there wasn't a show again on this Thursday, because I was not aware of that. So I'm going to go watch some movie that I'll fall asleep with on the couch. I watched, did I watch, it was the John Cena movie. That was the other night. See, I can't remember. It just blends. Because I always fall asleep during, I watched Nobody last night. Bob Odenkirk. Which, that was the Mr. Show, was Bob Odenkirk. He was also Breaking Bad, Bob Odenkirk. Better Call Saul. But yeah, Nobody. It was okay. I did fall asleep at the end. I'll have to watch the end. I think I can figure out how it ends, but I guess there's a Nobody 2 coming out. Bob Odenkirk. I think I met Bob when I was in Los Angeles for a Tears for Fears show. That's when I met Jimmy Kimmel, and I met the other guy from Breaking Bad, Aaron. Anyway, yeah, just, just brain diarrhea. That's all it is. Anyway, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate you so much, friends. I truly do. Remember to like and subscribe to this, because at some point, honestly, I swear I'll do some editing. I just need to sit down and have time to creatively come up with content. Because this, I don't know what I'm going to put on that, but I have to come up with content. Because again, if you look at the stuff that I did before, I was hitting stuff with a baseball bat. And the most viewed one was when I broke a clock, and people hated on me for breaking a clock, which I think is funny. Okay, I mean, it wasn't really an antique, but, time flies. Beat you to it, Don. Time flies. Anyway, thank you so much. Tomorrow is Sunday. It'll be the end of the week recap. Talk about some of the funnier things that happened this week. And then I've got some adventures planned tomorrow, so we'll see how that turns out. Anyway, thank you. And as always, we will, in fact, fade to black. and I unfaded it. Well, I think that's just my finger not wanting to push the button. So I'll try it again, and we fade to black.